Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience. I'm here tonight with my best Dacs and DAC amp combo of the year video. And for those that have been following me lately, you know that about 4 weeks ago I got hit with a bad case of Bell's palsy and lost all muscle control on the right side of my face. But because of the request of a lot of people, I'm talking at least 30, 40, I started doing videos again about a week and a half ago, and I appreciate all of you out there that have watched my videos and supported me through this. It's kind of a hard time, hard to speak clearly, and I lost complete control of the right side of my face, no muscle control whatsoever, and I'm happy to say I have recovered a little bit. The first 3 weeks there was absolutely no improvement, no movement at all on the right side of my face, but 3 days ago I would say I was back to about 10% of normal, and now I'm thinking I'm probably about 15-20%, so I am slowly recovering and hopefully get back to normal soon. But anyway, back to my video. Did want to mention that I did include DAC amp combos in my best amps of the year video. The reason I'm including them in this video also is I feel not all DAC amps are equal. Some are primarily a DAC with an amp thrown in, some are primarily an amp with a DAC thrown in. Some are outstanding DACs, some are outstanding amps. So anyway, I included in this because some of these would be included in my best DAC video, but not necessarily my best amp video. So getting into this, and I did want to once again remind you, if you haven't been watching my videos, that my best of videos are based entirely on what I've actually reviewed, and not saying they're the best in the world, they're just my favorites of what I've reviewed up to this point, both this year and sometimes from previous years, if nothing has come along that I've liked better. So I'm going to start, my first category is under $100, and there's two DACs. They're actually both DAC amp combos, and one is the iFi Uno, which I haven't even done my full review on yet. I did my first impressions just shortly before this Bell's palsy thing hit me. And anyway, it sells for $79, and it's just a really good sounding DAC and a good sounding amp that has enough power for everything up to. It does a pretty good job with the Hi-Fi Man Sundara, so even, unless it's a really hard to drive planar magnetic, it has pretty decent power, has good sound. Doesn't have the bass boost of the higher end iFi Zen series, but it does have a built-in EQ with 3 settings. And the one that is for gaming, I'm not a gamer, so I can't tell you how it works out with gaming, but for music, it sounded really fatiguing to me. It wore my ears, my brain, something out pretty quick. I didn't like the game setting for music. The music setting, I didn't hear a whole lot of difference from not using it at all. Maybe just a little more vivid. And but I listened to it primarily without the EQ, but very impressed. Sounds very good for $79. And then for $20 more, the iFi Zen Air DAC, which is a larger size. It's up to the size of the normal, like Zen DAC, that sort of thing. It's basically a Zen DAC, but a lower price version with a plastic enclosure instead of metal, and it's only single-ended instead of balanced like the Zen DAC, but at only $99, I feel it sounds the same as the Zen DAC, which is now selling for $199, and it's actually the Zen DAC 2 now. I haven't heard that, but I have heard the Zen DAC 1 and or the original Zen DAC. And to me, the Zen Air DAC sounds the same. as the single-ended output of the Zendac. And yeah, the balanced output I think sounds slightly better on the Zendac, but not a significant improvement. Just a little bit wider, more three-dimensional sound stage. But anyway, both of those, the iFi Uno and the iFi Zen Air DAC at under $100, both really good DACs and really decent amps unless you need a huge amount of power. Jumping up to the $101 to $250 category, I'm going to give this one to the Topping D50S that sells for $249. Just a really good sounding DAC. My only issue with it is it's kind of small and I have kind of fat, stubby fingers. A little hard for me to work the controls, but it's a Delta Sigma DAC with a really clean sound and just slightly on the warm side of neutral, and just pretty impressive, and that goes for $249. I want to give an honorable mention to the Topping E30. The current version is the E32. I haven't heard that, but I have the E31. I actually bought it because I really liked it. It's sitting right here, very small, but very, very clean, detailed sound that holds its own against amps, DACs that are up 2, even 3 price categories. Doesn't have a whole lot of features, but it does have a preamp out, and so with adjustable volume control. Just a really clean, detailed sound, good size sound stage with good 3D effect, kind of holographic sound stage. And the only thing negative I could say about it is it's slightly on the dry, sort of analytical side. It's not a real rich or lush sound. It's just a little bit on the dry, but very clean, very detailed, very respectable DAC for the price. Also want to give an honorable mention to the iFi Zendac 2. Like I said, I haven't actually heard that, but I did review the Zendac original, which originally sold for $129, and I'm sure that the Zendac 2 is as good or better, and that sells for $199. Jumping up to the next price category of $251 to $500. I only reviewed one DAC in that price range, but I really did like it. I really thought it had a great sound. That's the iFi Zen 1, which sells for $349. I used it in combination. Actually, that's the iFi Zen 1 Signature. And I used it in a stack with the iFi ZenCan Signature, the Hi-Fi Man version, and just thought the two sounded really, really good together. And I actually plugged that DAC into some more expensive amps and found out that DAC has a really, really good sound. Crystal clear, very good detail, very good sound stage, and a little on the warm side of neutral with a rich, just beautiful sound. Very impressed by that DAC at $349. Jumping up to the next category, $501 to $750. And my favorite DAC in that price range happens to be still the Topping D70S MQA version, which sold for $650, and you can still see that sitting right up here. And the problem is it's not available anymore because it used AKM DAC chips, and I guess the factory burnt down or whatever, and I don't know if they're going to start making those. I don't know if this DAC is ever going to be available again, but I actually had it at the same time as the Topping D90 SE and preferred the D70S over the D90 SE because I felt it was had 98% of the detail, but with a warmer, richer sound. So I actually preferred the D70S, even though it was about $250 cheaper. I absolutely love that DAC, and haven't found anything that I think is as good until recently, but it's up in the next price category, and I'll mention that in a minute. So anyway, I'm hoping that DAC will become available again, but I don't know, but I did want to mention it. It's still, like I said, I love that DAC. I want to mention, and this is a DAC amp combo, the Hi-Fi Man EF400, which is an R2 DAC with a built-in amp. It sells for $599, but I've seen it recently at $529. And in my opinion, it's an outstanding DAC and amp both. Recently, a reviewer apparently brought up some problems with the measurements of that, and something about, I couldn't find it again to read it, but it was something about something being out of phase, and I think the problem got worse into the higher frequencies. Okay, I went back and listened to it repeatedly, did not hear any problems. I used both the Hi-Fi Man, Ananda Stealth, and the Aria Stealth headphones, listened to several different types of music, heard no problems. I think it's a great sounding amp DAC. But someone did point out that the problem seemed to be only when it was in the no oversampling mode. And soon after getting that amp DAC, I realized I preferred it in the oversampling mode, and that's primarily how I've listened to it. So I decided I liked the oversampling mode better pretty quickly. I just thought it sounded better. So then that brings up the possibility maybe I was hearing the problem in the non-oversampling mode, and that's why I preferred the oversampling mode. So I can't tell you. All I can say is I think it has outstanding sound and has enough power for any headphone made, pretty much. It's like 4.3 watts per channel or something like that. It has a great R2R DAC that has a nice warm sound. There is one major issue I have though. It only has one digital input, that's USB, no coax, no optical, and it has no analog input. So you cannot plug another DAC into that amp and use it as a standalone amp. But if all you need is a USB, I think it's an incredible deal at $599. And if there is a problem with it, apparently it's in the non-oversampling mode, because in the oversampling, I think it sounds really good. I want to give an honorable mention to another DAC amp combo. That's a Burson Playmate 2. Sells for $544. A very good headphone amp with a very decent DAC. Nothing wrong with the DAC, just not quite on the level of some of the other DACs in the same price range as the standalone DACs in this price range, but you're getting a very good amp with it. So nothing wrong with the DAC in that. It's just, it's actually got kind of a warm, rich sound to it with good punch. It's just, it doesn't have the largest soundstage in the world. Not bad. I mean, it just lacks a little bit of width and a little bit of three-dimensional sound to some of the other DACs, standalone DACs in the same price range. But as far as clarity and detail, it's outstanding. So, like I said, very good headphone and amp DAC combo for the price, $544. Next category, $751 to $1,000. My top pick in that easily is the FIO K9 Pro. And that's the ESS version. It sells for $849. And I think that it is an outstanding DAC with a very, very good amp. And to me, when I did my full review on that, I said that this is high-end sound at a mid-5 price. And I realize $849 is not cheap, but when you consider that that is, an outstanding DAC with a very good headphone amp, both for $849, then I feel that that's mid-fi and an outstanding deal at that price. The DAC is so good that plugged into more expensive amps alongside of my favorite DAC, under $1,000, a topping D70, I feel it's as good as the D70, which I preferred over the D90. So I didn't have the K9 and the D90 at the same time to compare them directly, but I thought the DAC in the K9 was as good as the D70 DAC, which, like I said, I prefer to the D90. So outstanding DAC, really good headphone amp, and the combo, I just love it. I just love the way it sounds. It's got a nice, rich, liquid sound, but very, very detailed at the same time. And I don't think you could ask for more under $1,000, especially getting an amp and DAC in the same package. I want to give an honorable mention to the topping D90 SE. There's no doubt it has outstanding clarity and detail. My only problem with it is I thought it was a little bit on the dry analytical side. To me, it lacked, for lack of a better word, musicality. That's why I did prefer the D70. The D90 the sound was just kind of, it was just kind of flat and a little bit boring to me. Even though it was extremely clean and detailed, I just thought the music lacked a little bit of weight. But others would say that those are all signs of an uncolored, proper DAC that's doing its job exactly how it should. It measures outstanding. I don't think there's ever been a DAC that measures better than the D90 SE. It's just, like I said, it to me just sounded a little clinical, and just a little dry to me. I wasn't crazy about it. I really did like it, but I prefer something a little warmer. Also wanted to give an honorable mention to the i5 Neo IDSD, and that sells for $799. That's an example, a good example, of what I would consider an excellent DAC that they kind of just threw in a headphone amp. And there's nothing wrong with the headphone amp. It actually sounds really good unless you need a whole lot of power. I think it's rated at like 1 watt per channel, the amp. And it did sound really good with dynamic headphones, even high impedance dynamic headphones like ZMFs. But as far as planar magnetics, it did fine with the easier to drive planar magnetics like Kennertons and some of the easier to drive hi-fi mans like the Ananda and Aria Stealth. And it did a pretty good job with the Sundara, but getting into the harder to drive planar magnetics, it struggled a little bit. But excellent as a standalone DAC. I plugged that into some more expensive amps, and the DAC was crystal clear, very three-dimensional, more so than most of the other DACs I've listened to in that price range. It had a three-dimensional soundstage but had a lot of width and excellent separation between instruments. It was slightly on the dry analytical side, not as much as the topping. I would say more, it was just kind of neutral, down the middle neutral. I would have preferred it to be a little warmer. What it did lack, though, is it lacked a little bit of weight to the music, and it didn't sound quite as dynamic as some of the other DACs in the same price range. Some of the others had just a little more punch to them, but had a very light, airy sound, but very three-dimensional, and I really did enjoy it, and I think it's an excellent DAC with a good headphone amp, as long as you don't need a whole lot of power. Okay, jumping up to the over 1,000 category. My favorite that I've reviewed so far in that category is the Denafrips Pontus 2, and that's currently sells at $1,845.21 in US dollars. If you look at their website, the prices that come up first are going to be Singapore dollars, so you got to make sure you go up to the top and click on US dollars, because it brings the price down several $100s. And I've seen quite a bit of confusion with that. People go on their website and think, the prices are just, too high, but they don't realize those are in Singapore dollars, not US dollars. So anyway, an outstanding DAC, very large. It was, I think, about 14, 15 inches square, about 4 inches tall, weighs something like 26 pounds, but has, I think, 7 inputs, and it's an R2R DAC, and just outstanding clarity, probably very near the topping D90 SE as far as clarity, but a much warmer, richer sound with a much more three-dimensional, layered soundstage with a lot of depth to it. Just absolutely love that DAC, and I found no faults with it. It was, without a doubt, the best DAC I've heard. But I do want to give an honorable mention to the Audio GD R8 MK2, which you can see sitting right up here below the Master 9 amp. And as far as sound, I found it very, very close to the Denafrips Pontus. It's actually a little bit bigger. This one's 17 inches square, weighs about the same, 26 pounds. Also has a ton of inputs, I think 6, and I think 3 sets of outputs, but the only reason, or the main reason, I chose the Denafrips over the Audio GD as my favorite is the Audio GD. The one problem I have with it is it only has 3 buttons, well, not counting the power button, there's only 3 buttons on the front of it to control all the functions, and it's kind of confusing. And if I don't use it for a while, I have to go back to the Audio GD site and look at the instructions or the manual, because it didn't actually come with a manual, to figure out how to get into the different functions of the DAC, where the Denafrips had like about 10 buttons, and each function had its own button, so it was a lot, and they were all labeled, where you got to do everything with 3 buttons on the Audio GD. Like I said, as far as sound, they were very, very, very close. It took me hours and hours of listening to finally decide that the Denafrips was just maybe a couple of % better as far as the sound. Just seemed a little, slightly better focused. But other than that, I mean, the sound was almost identical. Like I said, though, I give it to the Denafrips because the functions were easier to use because of the multiple buttons. The Audio GD R8 MK2, if you buy directly from Audio GD, which is in China, the price is $1,780, but you will pay a significant shipping charge on top of that, probably $150 or so shipping. So if you don't want to buy it from China, it is sold, and they are an authorized audio GD dealer, Underwood Hi-Fi in the US, and they sell it for $1,999. And I think they do offer warranty repairs in the US, so you don't have to ship it back to China if something happens. Excuse me just a second. So anyway, also wanted to mention in that price category, this is an amp DAC combo. That's a Burson Conductor 3 reference. This sells for $1,744, and you can see that sitting right here next to me. It's an outstanding amp with a really good DAC, in my opinion. The amp, no complaints about it whatsoever. Nice, warm, I think it's 100% Class A, has a nice warm sound. Very detailed, tons of power. I think it's rated like 7.5 watts per channel, something like that, into 32 ohms. Will power any headphone, and it has a very decent built-in DAC. Not, on the level of the other over $1,000 DACs, more on the level of like, say, a $750 DAC, but a very respectable DAC in an outstanding amp, $1,744. So that kind of wraps up my price categories. I did have a few awards I wanted to give out for DACs this year. And the first one, I'm going to start with cleanest, most detailed sound. And I'm going to give that one to the Topping D90 SE. And very close runner-up, though, would be the Denafrice Pontus 2 and the Audio GD R8 MK2. But just outstanding clarity and detail at a pretty reasonable price of $899 for the Topping. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, that was the price. $899 is the retail price of the Topping D90 SE. And that is the flagship of the Topping DACs. My favorite DAC under 1,000 is still the Topping D70 SMQA, but like I said, it's, as far as I know, it's not currently available, and I don't know if it's ever going to come back and be available with the AKM DAC chips. So in that case, my favorite right now is the built-in DAC in the FIO K9 Pro ESS. It's actually a DAC amp combo for $849, but I actually, I love the DAC in that thing. It's actually, the DAC is made by ESS, which normally, to me, ESS DACs have kind of a dry, not the warmest, richest sound, but I was really surprised by that and did use it as a standalone DAC into several tube amps and into the Audio GD Master 9, and it's actually got a nice, warm, rich sound to the DAC, and I really like the DAC. So you're getting an outstanding DAC for $849 with a very good headphone amp thrown in. So so right now, if you can't get the Topping D70S, and you might be able to find one on the used market, but my favorite DAC under 1,000 right now is the $849 FIO K9 Pro ESS amp DAC combination. My favorite DAC over $1,000 is the Denafrice Pontus 2. My favorite DAC amp combination under 1,000, once again, the FIO K9 Pro ESS at $849. And my favorite DAC amp combo over 1,000, it would be the Burson Conductor 3 reference. Okay, my award for the most bang for the buck DAC is going to the Topping E30 at $149. I really do think that DAC holds its own against DACs up to $1,000. Just outstanding clarity and detail. But like I said, just a little bit on the dry kind of analytical sound, but a really nice sound stage. Just a outstanding DAC for the price. I can't believe that a DAC of $149 can sound that good. The one I have is the original. They now have the E32. I'm assuming, if anything, is better. Okay, my most bang for the buck DAC amp combo, I'm going to give that to the Hi-Fi Man EF400. I just think the sound of that thing is outstanding. Like I said, I'm not sure if there is a problem with the non-oversampling mode, but in the oversampling mode, I think it sounds outstanding for the price. You're getting a great DAC, and it's an R2R DAC with a nice, warm, rich sound, and a very good amp that has enough power for just about anything. Fully balanced, $599 retail, $529 I think currently from Hi-Fi Man and from APOS, and I will put an APOS link below my video because a lot of this stuff's available at APOS, and quite a few of these are on sale there right now. So check out the APOS link. And like I said, my only issue with the F400 is only one digital input and no analog inputs. But if you can live with that, only a USB input, outstanding sound, and matches up extremely well with any of the Hi-Fi Man headphones that I've reviewed, and that's pretty much everything up to the Aria Stealth. Works great with all those. My last award, DAC of the Year. And I'm not necessarily saying this is the best, but this is just of everything I reviewed this year. My favorite new DAC is the one built into the FiiO K9 Pro ESS. I'm not saying it's as good as the more expensive stuff like the Denafrips or the Audio GD, but it's just so good, I'm going to give it my DAC of the Year award. So anyway, that wraps up this video. I've got one more Best of the Year video coming out, and I would have combined it with this one, but I'm speaking slow and my videos are running long, so I'm going to make it a separate video, and that's Best Headphone Accessories of the Year. It's going to be things like headphone cables and all kinds of stuff, ear pads, EQs, what else? Whatever I can think of, power supplies, power cables. It's just going to be any accessory that you would use with your headphones. So I'm going to try to get that out in a few days and then get back to my full reviews that I should have done a month ago, but had, a medical setback. And I think my most overdue full review is the LSA Hyperdrive 2 headphone amp. Very nice hybrid tube amp, and that's gonna be my first of my full reviews when I get back to doing those, and hopefully that will come out in about a week. So anyway, thanks for watching my video. Really appreciate all of you who have continued to support me, even though having a little bit of trouble speaking clearly and don't look the prettiest right now, but I am getting back. Like I said, I think I'm maybe back to 15-20% of my normal movement, and hopefully this is going to go away soon and get back to normal. Anyway, did want to mention the headphone experience on Facebook is growing like crazy now. I think it's up to I think it's over 21.5 thousand members, and it's been averaging about 20 to 25 new members per day lately. So really growing fast. A lot of great people over there. You're all welcome to join us. This video helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And once again, thanks for watching my video.